Hey YouTube, it's Mr. North 14, and man, I'm finally capable to talk about Halo Infinite. I've listened to everyone, I've checked out what others had to say, and now I guess I'm ready to speak on how I feel about Halo Infinite's delay. Now, this guy here, Paul Tassi, hope I'm saying his last name right, but his saying at the top of his article is how I feel. It's hard to overstate how damaging the Halo Infinite delay is to the Xbox Series X launch because this was the reason if I was going to get an Xbox Series X, it was to play this game on an Xbox Series X the way I thought it would be able to be played. But we've seen the graphics from the July 23rd event. Please go back and see that if you want to know my views on the July 23rd event. But I was very disappointed in what I saw in that 8-minute video of Halo Infinite. I mean, when I remember playing Halo 1 through 4, 5 to me was probably the worst Halo ever. But when I was playing 1 through 4, I remember that saying, combat evolved. Combat evolved. And that's what Halo felt like. It was combat on a whole different level that I've never played it before. I loved going into battles with the AI Marines and actually feeling like they were helping me in the battle. I loved when I got in the back of the Warthog and the AI drove the vehicle and I'm just shooting people with the railgun and destroying everything, and we're going in circles and the AI is all out of control. And I just loved every moment of it. I love the fact that I could dual wield a pistol. I love the fact that I could fly or drive a tank or fly a flying vehicle. And then when I got to hijack a vehicle, it was just combat evolved. It's what I expected from this game. And it met my expectations and it exceeded everything that I've ever wanted in a first person shooter. And this is the game that launched the Xbox. This is the game, the holy grail, the standard where Epic and Bungie would just fight who would come out with the newest things for their characters and people would love. Uh, Master Chief would come with a new shield or a dual weapon, and then Bungie would come out with something new on their end for Gears of War, and it was just like this great fight between who can make the most, excuse my French, badass character. And that's what I loved about Halo. And that was the reason why I was going to get the Xbox Series X, because I wanted to experience Halo like it was meant to be experienced, and to find out that because of Microsoft's strategy, that they were pretty much making this for the Xbox One X, because it should have been released during the life cycle of the Xbox One X. You know, that they really didn't add ray tracing and all the good stuff that the game deserved. So now they're talking about, oh, it's the carnivorous, got nothing to do with the carnivorous. They had all the time in the world to complete this game, and what they did is, like PS5 and Microsoft, they rushed this next generation of consoles out. Not knowing that a pandemic was going to come, but they rushed these consoles out and they built all these games because we know the games are not going to be built the first year for the new systems that they're on. It's going to take 2 or 3 years. Okay, but why was Sony games looking 10 times better than anything Microsoft was creating by itself or anything that any other developer? Even Assassin's Creed looked at Valhalla looked at crazy. That's because they're designing all these games and not designing them with the new features of the Series X. They're touting all this quick load times, ray tracing, AI photo realistic to make 1080p look like 4K, and they're just saying all this stuff and crunching all these numbers and saying all this good things, but they're not producing the games to run on these systems because of that delay in them actually really producing for these new systems. But Sony got it right. They said, hey, we're going to go out there and we're going to make our games for the PS5 and they're going to get better. And even though we're going to let you play PS4 games who probably won't run good on the PS5, but you will enjoy the new games. So that was their focus. Microsoft says, we have this series of systems and we want everything to work on these systems. And to get everything to work on these systems, well, we won't make it compatible to our new system. We'll work on the old and just throw it onto the new system and everybody will be happy. Well, gamers weren't happy. I wasn't happy when I seen the July 23rd CG Cinematic Fury and all everything, and then to see Halo just look like any other game. This is their flagship game. Yes, they were correct to delay it, but what would that do for Xbox Series X launch? Well, it tells me now that I will not be getting this system. Will not be getting the Xbox Series X, and I won't be getting it because it doesn't have the number one game that brought me to the Xbox in the first place, where I have nostalgia and great feelings for, and I loved 1 through 4. 5 again, really didn't like. 343 is just constantly dropping the ball with Halo, and I got to put this on 343 because they've been developing this game for 5 years. You know, at some point, you got to blame somebody, and I blame Phil. Phil, what's going on, man? It's your flagship game, and you took your eyes off the prize because you worried about game studios, and you worried about this, and you worried about that. Man, get some help. If you need help, get some help because you can't drop the ball, Phil, on your number one game, your game that will launch your system, that will put this in your hands. Now, people like me aren't going to get the Xbox Series X because we don't see a need for it. And in that time, the PS5 might show us greater things than the Xbox Series X is going to show us because we don't have a flagship game. We don't have nothing to show us the power and what the Xbox Series X can really do. But PlayStation showed us. They showed us everything. So I just have to say to Phil Spencer, dude, I'm sorry, but you need to resign. You need to resign. You need to walk away from the Xbox. You need to take a lower position. You need to let somebody who has that focus, who can get Xbox back to the way it was during the 360 days. Okay? You've done an okay job. But dude, you're everywhere. You keep dropping the ball. This is something I can't believe you dropped the ball on, is with Halo. You knew this was the flagship game, the end of the resistance, the thing that would launch the Xbox Series X. And you let 343 take their eye off the prize. Yes, I'm a little upset because that was the only Halo Infinite was the only reason I was going to buy an Xbox Series X because I wanted to see the glory of the Xbox Series X, all the power you said it would have, and it's turning out the Xbox Series X is turning out to be just like the Xbox One, a big, gigantic, most powerful dud. You can't afford to have another most powerful dud. So create the Series X. Wow, it can do all the things that you say it can do, but it doesn't have games, and we can't see the games perform well. So it's a dud. The Xbox Series X is a dud. It's already a dud. Come November, when you launch this thing, it's going to be a dud. It's going to be the most powerful piece of crap on the market because nothing is going to look good. Nobody is taking advantage of any of the features, the ray tracing, nothing. Nobody's taking advantage of it. They're going to just give us ports of an Xbox One X game. So I don't know what to say. Okay, I've said my piece about this. As I said, this is devastating. I can't tell how damaging it is to Xbox Series X because I know I won't be purchasing it now for sure. So I'm just hoping that Microsoft can save itself because they've been doing everything right. Everything's good on paper, when they started saying this, but when they start showing stuff, the paper and the showing stuff wasn't adding up. Xbox Series X looked good on paper, but once it get past the paper phase and you have to see the real thing, it's an Xbox One X, big, most powerful ball of crap. So I don't know. Maybe the head of Microsoft need to get rid of Phil and say, or they need to do a trick and give him a lower position and put somebody above him in Microsoft that's creating change and turning things around because Phil has dropped the ball. He has dropped the ball. How did he go from Xbox being the most exciting, Xbox Series X being the most exciting thing anyone has talked about, to now being the most powerful piece of crap on the market with nothing to show for it? It's going to launch on November with nothing to show for it. Nothing. Man, I'm very depressed. I don't know what Microsoft is going to do now. And like I said, I see no reason to purchase an Xbox Series X. Maybe that's Microsoft plan. They want you to stay with the Xbox One X, which they won't be producing anymore. And then they're going to produce an Xbox Series S. And boy, when I heard about that thing, let me tell you, why stop? I see now why they stopped the Xbox One X. If you're going to make a less powerful system that can only do 1080p, and the Xbox One X can do 4K at 60 frames. I don't know, but I'm getting off the point. Let me get back focused. Folks, let me know how you feel about the delay of Halo Infinite. Is it a game changer for you? Will you be buying the Xbox Series X? I can tell you I won't be. But let me know how you think. This is Mr. North 14. Peace out.